I think we got a Marcy.
Yes, we did.
Hey,
Oh,
whoopa.
look at that.
Oh,
I like coconuts.
nice. Yes, hello there. Oh God, I'm bound to
Am I
mispronounce
live?
it.
Is this live right now?
We are
Yeah, it
absolutely
is.
live. Yes.
You're looking great though, doll. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I should probably introduce you, shouldn't I? This is Mx Vivian Wulf, who is well, explain yourself. Introduce yourself, Viv.
Hi. I'm a
Hello.
random clocky bitch from the UK. That's it.
You're a what?
I'm a random clocky bitch from the UK.
Okay, you're cocky. You do speak a Cockney accent. I can't do
No, she
British.
did. She didn't say Cockney. Bless.
I
I,
said,
I, I
I
speak
said
American.
clocky.
I
Better.
salute. I salute America. Apple pie. Apple pie. Apple pie.
Apple pie's amazing. That's why we
Apple pie
invented it.
cigarette. Apple pie cigarette. Rah 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 rah. Eagle.
Oh.
You know.
I do
Yeah.
just want to point out though, she didn't say Cockney. She said Clocky. Which is a rather different,
Cockney.
a rather different thing.
That's all right. I can be cockney and clocky.
That's
All right,
fair
man.
enough. Yeah, yeah. You are the
Yeah.
pearly queen, after all. Yes.
Yeah, I got it all going on.
Yes. Firstly, thank you for joining us, Marcy.
You're welcome. Everyone's very blessed by my presence and how cool and amazing and sexy I am.
Well, this
Very
is
true.
definitely true.
I'm
Okay. I mean, firstly, I suppose introduce yourself and tell everyone about you.
I'm like an male. Like this is. I'm just like I'm someone who's big on very much on traditional masculinity and like a lot of people are. I've been getting a lot of hate online because a lot of people are jealous of me because like this is what peak performance looks like and it makes them jealous.
You are, well. You are absolutely the ultimate alpha. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Um. Yes. So. Yeah. I mean, firstly, how are you doing? Because you've been through some shit, right?
Yeah, jail was horrible. It was gross. It was scary. Everyone in there was scary. They treated me like I was a criminal, which I guess I am now. And like it was horrible. Like yeah, it sucked. It was really gross. And I cried like half the time. You can see my mugshot. I'm like bawling my mugshot. Like I was crying like half the time and I prayed some rosaries though, which was good, but you know, like you don't really know what it's like to not have free will until you just don't have free will. And it's like, whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. So. I suppose. Yeah. I suppose. Tell your story then. So you are not actually from Florida, I believe. You travelled
I
to.
spent a lot of time in Florida, but I
Yeah.
am not from Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you decided to challenge the anti-trans bathroom bill in Florida.
Yeah, I decided to be uppity, you know.
Yeah.
They want us to lick the boot. They want us to be really afraid and go away real quiet and go to the bathroom real quiet if we do, or to not do it at all out of fear. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be brazen. I'm going to brazenly use the bathroom, which is very scary to them. It's very scary. Oh, you're looking through my Twitter. That's my Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my mugshot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
there
it.
you go.
That's a great
I actually
mugshot. You look awesome. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's way more
I mean,
evocative than Trump's
you look
mugshot.
sad.
Definitely.
You look sad, but you look pretty.
I look what?
You look sad, but you look pretty.
Yeah, I look sad. He said I look fat. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, but
Ah,
I'm very
Imagine.
sad.
no,
I kind of look similar to that.
Yeah.
My hair looks similar.
Right. Yeah.
No,
So.
you look great.
So I mean, I suppose tell us the story that led up to this photograph and how this came to be.
So I'm an emotional person, and you know, it'd be easy to like say that this was a deep philosophical and intellectual decision that I, you know, thought about for years and beforehand. But it was really just like I was really, really upset about these laws, which I've always been upset about since 2023, since they passed. And I've always been kind of scared because I go to Florida a lot. I spend a lot of time in Florida. My family has land down there. I don't want to go too much details about like where and everything, but you know, I spent a lot of time down in Florida, and so like that really upset me. And the stuff with the passports is like crazy that they're trying to make it so we like us changing our passports doesn't bother anyone. they're just trying to be vindictive and petty and shitty and making our lives harder. It is discriminatory. They're making laws specifically about trans people, which is discriminatory. Yeah. And I was just kind of really emotional and upset. The Hunter Schafer stuff kind of, I always say the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was like, you know what? Fine. Fuck it. I'm going to write 160 letters to 160, well, there would be 160 state legislators, but two seats are absent right now. So 158 plus one for DeSantis and one for the Attorney General of Florida, writing saying, hey, your law is stupid. You guys are like freaking, like, listen, I'm a religious person. These people are like fascistic theocrats, though, you know, and they're like shoving their beliefs down on people. And I was like, no, we're not going to take that. You can't just arrest trannies away. We're going to be trans, you know? And so I was like, you know what? Fine. I wrote him a letter saying, I'm going to break your law because your law is silly and stupid, and I'm going to break it. And I know that, you know, even you, the people who passed it, in your deepest heart of hearts, you know that what you're doing is wrong. Because in each of us, there is a deeper moral compass that, you know, even when I believe, honestly, even the Nazis, when they were doing what they were doing, at some deeper level, they recognized that it was wrong, even if they thought it was right. Do you know what I mean?
I think they understood there would be punishment for what they did, which suggests that.
No, I mean, but I'm saying the Nazis are like inherently evil. Like, it's not subjective. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's nothing inherent. No. Inherently, we're relatively blank canvases that could be painted on by a society and our experiences. Yeah.
I did watch your 22-minute video in preparation for speaking to you tonight, and you said a very similar thing there, and I was really, really struck by, and honestly a little bit inspired by, your willingness and your desire to see good in people and to believe that, like, deep down they're actually, you know, they know what they're doing is wrong, there's like good to them, and that you can appeal to their better natures. Me personally, I'm a little bit jaded. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case, but I do think it's very inspiring. I do think it's very cool, and I hope that you don't lose that as you continue on down the road. I hope
Thanks.
you continue to believe in the good in people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
go on. Sorry,
I can see why I'm jaded these days, like, given the climate, but I don't know. I really, hope is, I've said it before many times, hope is a theological virtue. I really do. I think everyone despairs these days, but I have hope, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I still have hope. I just believe some people are beyond redemption. Reprobate. Okay.
Well, this was sort of the question I was going to ask, sort of on top of that point that Viv was making. You lucky, so I watched that video as well, and you did make some interesting points about how even though they hate you, you still love them as like as a human being. And I was wondering, like, and again, I don't want to convince you that you're wrong here. I just want to kind of put it out there. What would they have to do for you to potentially not love that person anymore?
Nothing. There's nothing someone could do to make me ever stop loving them.
Really? So this is, I mean, I presume this is probably part of your religious conception of the world?
Yeah.
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 Because that's an interesting one as well. I mean, not that you can't be trans and religious, of course, but how do you reconcile either the Catholic Church or religion in general and their animosity towards trans people?
I think a lot of people are confusing, you know, sort of American Catholic influencers online, who are mainly just these reactionary Yarvin types, with like actual Catholics, because Catholicism historically has been relatively liberal compared to Protestantism, with the exception of being pro-life. And I think Catholicism is pretty cool and right about, like, I love Catholicism. You know, I think people forget that it's a very liberal religion. And like, if you look at like Dorothy Day and stuff, like, I know we see like Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh, who, by the way, Matt Walsh don't act Catholic. He's aesthetically blah. You know, Catholics at least got to have some, you know, smells and bells, but Matt Walsh doesn't, he's not aesthetically Catholic, but Michael Knowles is very aesthetically Catholic, but he really is a reactionary, I think, in a lot of ways. And just I don't know. I don't really see that him as an accurate representation of American Catholicism. I would look to someone like left-wing Catholic activist Dorothy Day. And it's also important to remember with the Vatican, the magisterium recently released a document saying, that transgenderism may not be a grave sin, or maybe even a sin at all, if someone has incredibly severe dysphoria, which I did have. I was driven to suicide by gender dysphoria before I transitioned. And I mean, and also, like, I don't have to be this perfect person who has everything all together. I'm 20, I can
Yeah.
be a messy person, a hypocrite, and I'm still trying to work. And I'm not even, I think a lot of conservatives would have opposition to, well, have had a lot of conservatives are mad at me right now, because they're saying, oh, you're promoting transgenderism, how do you know it's moral, how do you know it's this, how do you call yourself a Catholic? And I don't even think I could even be considered promoting transgenderism. Like, I'm promoting dignity. That's my belief, that's my philosophy. It's dignity, and I don't think it's particularly moral or Christian to say like certain people don't deserve dignity. I don't think that's Christian. I think it's kind of evil to say, yeah, this group, they should die. They should be in prison for because they're transgender. Because I've seen a lot of people on my giving away the ball game. I've seen a lot of church saying, yeah, you're a man, you're not a woman. You should be in jail no matter what. You should get a life sentence. And it's like, that's not about me using the bathroom. They just want to kill us.
Well, there's some very hateful people. And I don't wish to deny the sort of liberal nature of modern Catholicism, and I think that's certainly true. I will just for clarity's sake point out historically Catholicism has not always been very liberal. I think not that I want this discussion to go in that direction. I just wanted to point that out just for clarity's sake, so that I don't get accused of ignoring that point. Anyway, so back to the kind of main thing we joined here to talk about.
Yeah, so you wrote all these letters, right? Did you get any responses for them, or did you just send them and then go down to the Capitol?
See, I didn't, because I sent them in a very short window before, and so I sent them to the address in Florida where I was staying. And so if I did get it, I would have received the letters after the whole incident. So I might as well have not received the letters at all. You know what I mean? Like.
But did you receive any after the thing? Have you received any to this point?
And back at that address, since I've kind of gotten out of Florida.
Okay.
I'm just I have a little bit of Florida TSD,
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
And I still love Florida. I think, normal people there are chill. I have experienced more homophobia in Florida, but I really do love Floridians. I have a soft spot in my heart for Florida. I sent the letters, by the way, like right before I went there, like enough time where I knew they'd be sent and received, but I didn't know if they would have enough time to send a letter back, just given like how long it takes to do postage or whatever. Because I sent like a week before, I sent them from, a little bit north of Florida, so it would take a couple days, and then it would take a couple days for them to see it and to write it, and it's unlikely, considering how quick the date was, it's unlikely that they sent a letter back. I just don't think that.
Yeah.
They sent these letters, and then you decided to go down to the Capitol.
Yeah. So I was there for spring break, and I was actually going to have breakfast the morning before, but I didn't, and I deeply regret that because it would have been so aesthetic. I wish I told them I was doing it an hour later, but it was a fun time. Not the jail part, but like the time in Florida. Well, other bad stuff happened. It's a long story, but I drove up the day of, because I was like driving home to Chi-Town, and as I was driving, obviously I stopped at Tallahassee, to do this. And honestly, I wrote these letters. I know I did this protest. And in retrospect, everyone thinks, oh my gosh, it's so obvious that you were going to get caught. You were going to go to jail. How did you not think it was a possibility? And I did think it was a possibility, but I don't know. I also operate on the idea of like nothing ever happens. Like I thought nothing was going to happen. Everyone's like, oh, maybe I'm naive, and I am hopeful. but I also kind of think a lot of times they don't even read the letters. I didn't think that like the government officials were gonna like report me to the police because I mean the way I put it was essentially if you read my letter to them, which is available online, you can find it online somewhere. It's definitely in a lot of articles. I essentially said that if you do want me arrested, that just means you don't believe that I have dignity, and by getting me arrested, you're agreeing that's what you believe. And they don't believe I have dignity, I guess, but I do, and I'm gonna keep fighting for that. I'm gonna keep fighting for the dignity of all transsexuals. I know when I'm kind of made a splash onto the sort of trans scene, and I've been getting some backlash from the trans community of like, you don't know what you believe, you don't, I've been people attack me because there was one article that said I was a conservative, and I've said before I'm a centrist, but I honestly, it's more of like than centrism. It's more of just like apolitical, because I just don't think that should be a political cause. I think we should have ideological capture on both sides. I think, because I think if we just win the left 100% all the time, we won't win the actual like issue, in the minds of most Americans. We need to ideologically capture the rights. And I'm not a rightist per se. I kind of, it kind of irks me a little bit of like, oh, I don't want to suck up to these people who just hate us. But I do think we need to make change within the right. Otherwise, we're going to get screwed over. Because we did have it for a second. There was a time where the Republican Party was kind of getting more pro-LGBT. And then now people are moving away from that. And I mean, there's a great Saul Alinsky talks about. I don't know if you guys have ever read Saul Alinsky. I like him a lot, but he's not the best person. I want to full disclaimer. I think he's an evil person, just based on stuff in his personal life that I don't approve of. But he would talk about like how he would get shit from other like leftist radicals because he would wear a suit and a tie, but he did that because he cared more deeply about the cause and about actually making like deep political change and radicalizing people because he could get away with more in a suit and a tie. And I think this thing is sort of like we need capture of the institutions on the left. We need to subvert the right, and I think we can just sit on our hands and say, the right's evil, and just not have a solution. But I think, we should be training young trans people to go into not just left-wing media, but to conservative media too, and sort of subvert expectations and sort of change things within conservatism. And that's not a moral endorsement of conservatism. It's just a reality. It's best to subvert your political enemies. That's how real change happens. If you look at like American elections, over the past 100 years, you don't really see a pattern of one party winning more than the other. It's sort of mixed. It's sort of like 50%. But we have a reputation in America for being a right-wing country, and it's because the left has been subverted from within by the right. And sort of, in order for the left to win, the left needs to subvert the right from within, and that's not something a lot of people realize.
Yeah, I mean, I have to confess when I read some things about you. Well, like shit, it was like a week ago now, I think. Like not long after the incident happened, and then like I'm very lefty. Okay, I'm very I'm in there in the trans twitters, and I'm probably more left wing than most people there, to be honest. Um, and so like people are like, oh, this chick's a conservative, this chick's a fucking a Catholic, like this chick's a fucking whatever, right? And I was like, oh man, that sounds kind of like she's a person with some pretty shitty views. And I was like trying to think in my brain, like, how do you marry these things? Like, why would Blair White do something like this? No, she fucking wouldn't. So I'm trying to marry this picture that's being presented of you with the thing that you did, and then I look at your page, I watch that like 20-minute video, and I'm just like, oh, I fucking get it now. I totally get it. And there's like a couple of things, like I don't want to be patronizing, when I say that, you said it yourself, you're only 20 years old. Like, it's okay to be a messy bitch. It's okay to be a little bit hypocritical. It's okay to still be working things out, right? And I completely agree with that. Um, but also, again, like I said earlier, you you really do have this belief that people are trying to do the right thing, or at least are good people at heart, and that there's something good there to like appeal to. And I think that, you know there's a lot of different angles that you can go at this shit to try and help trans people move forward, gain dignity, gain freedom, etc., to be who they are and do what they want to do. And I think we probably will need some people to be doing what you're describing, right? To like soften the right wing towards LGBT people, because half of the time the Republicans are in power, right? So like, what do we want to like gain a few rights under a democratic government and then just get absolutely trashed while the Republicans are in power, and then have to that's just going back and forth and never really getting to where we want to be, isn't it? So I don't wholly disagree with that at all. And yeah, I don't want to be patronizing or say that you're naive or anything like that. I do think that view is I think that view is important and valuable, and I think that we, you know,
Which,
having a few people around who believe in the innate goodness of human beings, I think is really, really valuable and helps us more jaded people be a little bit less depressed about the state of things. Yeah.
yeah, well,
And just to be clear, I don't like the state of things.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope.
Well, you wouldn't have done what you did if you liked the state of things, right? And I do think that what you did was very brave. I think that I think maybe you were a little naive in thinking that you weren't going to be arrested, okay? Because I, from the start, I could see like these people. You said something really poignant in your video, actually. You said when you got arrested, like you looked around at some of the people who were like watching you get arrested, and there were some people who were like really, really happy about it, really joyful about it, right? Like really wanted to see a trans person get locked up and see a trans person have harm done to them. And that's one of the scariest things about this moral panic, is that it really, even if they are super good at heart, like, it really has turned a lot of people into like scary fucking monsters who really just do take pleasure in the idea of trans people suffering. And like, if you don't mind reliving it a little bit, like, how did that feel for you upon the realization that actually you were going to get arrested, and actually there were people who were here who were like really happy to see it happen and kind of baying for blood, really?
It was humiliating. Yeah, I cried like half my time in jail. Um, it was really hard. I
Yeah,
could say, oh, I'm so tough, and I remember some people were dragging my mugshot and being like, "You could have had a really tough, like Rosa Parks mugshot." It's like, dude,
fuck off. Yeah,
yeah, like, fuck off.
you do it.
I was falling. I was scared. I was being
Yeah,
victimized by the American state because I was an uppity tranny. You
yeah,
give me a fucking
terrifying.
break. But I do want to have to show, people talk about trans joy a lot. I do want to be joyful in
Yeah,
this. So I think about, the martyrs in the Colosseum. They would dance as the lions ate them. And I think that's really cool, because I don't think I'm wrong here. I don't think I'm wrong for standing up for dignity. So if these people are being crazy and arresting me, they're clowns. It's a clown show. So might as well kind of, mock them and laugh at them. The systems, the institutions, those with power. The thing that scares them most always is mockery.
hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I suppose to the actual story. So you got to the state house in Tallahassee. What happened? How did you go about washing your hands?
I just walked up the stairs and I got there, and like there was like a little mini crowd of people like waiting for me,
So they
and I was like,
they were
oh,
expecting you, yeah.
oh yeah, they were expecting me,
Mm.
and they're like, just so you know, if you use the bathroom, you're gonna. It's like it's actually kind of crazy. They put people. They were like worried of like we gotta prevent her from washing her hands and praying a rosary. They're like, if you use the bathroom, we're gonna arrest you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I went and used the bathroom.
So
and they arrested.
Yeah. The police came in and you said something in the video about they gave the option to not be sent to jail or something, but if you promise not to do it again.
Yeah, I would still face prison time. The thing I'm facing right now. But I wouldn't be sent to an overnight jail as long as I promise. It was very much a, you got to know your place. You can't be uppity. You got to know your place. You can't go in the women's bathroom again. And I was just kind of like, ugh, that. And so they were booking me and shit. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I will use the women's bathroom. You don't know. You don't know me. And then they handcuffed me, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, and so they sent you you were in jail for, was it a day and a night or something?
Yeah, I was in jail for like 25 hours because I got arrested. Locked that out and paid it for.
Is that cell with other people or by yourself?
By myself, thank the good Lord. I mean, isolation was really hard and horrible, and the hardest part was not having anyone to talk to or interact with. But being in a cell with a man.
Yeah, that would be terrifying. I've done an overnight in jail before, and it's always been by myself. But like American jails, when you see them on the TV from the UK, it's like, oh, this big holding pen, and you're in there on a bench with like some huge dude with gang tattoos, and you're like, holy shit, I hope that never happens to me. Yeah.
Well, the jail was just like the movies. Like, I actually said that when I got to like my cell. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like the movies. Like, there were guard towers, there was barbed wire, there was bars, and there was like those little metal toilets that are really gross, and the whole thing was gross. It was like, I actually think it's no that anyone's there. I think it's, I think a lot of Republicans are more interested in cutting money than treating people like human beings. That's why they got rid of the AIDS thing, because more people may die of AIDS, but so what? They're gay. And I think that's kind of, I think that is so. I think the cut to AIDS funding, which has been an historically successful government program, like more than any other government program, really is emblematic of how the new right is just kind of, if anything's gay coded, they're just sort of vindictive. We're gonna stop it because we don't want those homosexuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem like a politics of spite, like just how do we hurt these people as performatively as possible as well. It's embarrassing for you as a country. I'm sorry to say. I just think it's really shameful behavior from your government. Yeah.
Hey, don't throw stones, UK.
Oh no, absolutely. Our government's fucking garbage at it as well. Yeah, we're absolutely shameful in this regard too. Fuck West Streeting. We constantly are saying fuck various members of the government over here, aren't we, Kev?
Well, I'm very loyal, so no, I'm a good boy. No, I'm joking. No, fuck them. So, question from the chat. So, the jail you were sent to, was that a male jail, or are they unisex? I don't even know how that works, frankly.
By the way, chat questions coming. I kind of like getting chat questions before. It was a male jail, and it really sucked. I think the good Lord, I never had a male cellmate, but I was in a male jail, and I was in the male block, and it was super weird, I'll be honest with you, and they kept calling me by my dead name, which hasn't leaked, which is amazing. I think it's kind of cool that my dead name hasn't leaked now, because I feel like
crazy. I thought it'd be all over the news in seconds.
Yeah.
Oh,
have you not?
It's kind of shocking.
Have you not been able to legally change it, or have you not tried to change it at any point?
I haven't legally changed. I'm in the process of legally changing it, but it's not officially.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, no, you've done extremely well to keep it quiet then. Like, yeah, the fact that this has been in newspapers and things, you would have thought some evil so-and-so would have dug it up, but thankfully not.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because I haven't the official, documentation, paperwork out there, which I think should not be publicly accessible. I don't think you should be able to publicly look up if someone's trans or not. I think that's ugly, but
Mm.
because it's not out there. There's no public record of me changing my name, even though I did change my name. It's not legally, but people don't know what my dead name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's been a day and a night. Sorry, go on then, Kev.
oh no, I was gonna move on. So you're now facing up to potentially 60 days in jail
Yeah.
if convicted. What happens now with your case?
That's for my lawyers. I'm not supposed to talk about some of this stuff.
Oh,
And I
okay.
mean that
That's fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
with
No,
absolute love. I don't know what's going to happen to me, and
yeah,
I worry about the fact that I am on social media, that it could make me less sympathetic, and I could everything I say could be used against me, and that's very scary.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And of course, as much as you and I both disagree with this law, obviously, it's difficult to think of a more flagrant example of deliberately breaking a law, right? Like you said ahead of time, like, this law's dumb, I'm gonna break it, and then you went and broke it, right? So there is, I think, a real possibility that you could end up facing at least some of this sentence and custodial.
Yeah, they shave our heads, but I'm scared about that.
They shave your head for jail?
Yeah.
You did say that in the video, and I was like, is that true? Do they shave everybody's head who goes into prison? Like,
I'll post out soon some link of like what happens to Chinese and Ron DeSantis's Florida, but they have like
oh
things about
God, yeah.
taking us off. They take off our hormones, and put us in men. We get raped. So that's Ron DeSantis's America. Got to own the troons. Got to own the troons.
It's utterly disgusting, and it must be fucking terrifying for you. Are you doing anything to prepare for that potential eventuality? Is there anything you think you can do to prepare for that?
It's gonna hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm just sort of mentally not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try and send you some letters if it does happen. I don't know if that's particularly helpful, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's horrible. I mean, I suppose we have to hope that you get a sensible judge who realizes that. I mean, not only is it an abomination that this is even a law, but the idea that you would send someone to jail for washing their hands is just absurd in a nation run by a man who is a rapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. The things that people don't go to jail for, and the things that someone might do, it's ridiculousness.
So many people get away with sexual assault. Like, I feel like the way people did Me Too was cringe, but Me Too was 100% right. And I don't think men generally understand how many women are sexually assaulted. Like, I know so many friends who were sexually assaulted and raped. Yeah, like, it's a big problem no one talks about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you also alluded to earlier, there's been some talk about your political affiliation or where you stand on that, and also some quite frankly disappointing talk as well about how people feel less sympathetic. People who were generally pro LGBT might feel less sympathetic towards you because of your purported conservatism.
I'm not. I want to be very
no,
clear.
absolutely no. I'm just it was reported, and so people put it out there as like I think the exact tweet I saw was something like,
I don't understand why. Honestly, it's so weird that like I'm willing to go to jail for the LGBT community, and the LGBT community is mad at me. Like,
Well, again,
people are fucking dumb on Twitter, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
People are very dumb on Twitter. I think you'll find that there will be a lot of people who are extremely supportive of you, and I would urge you to maybe just not pay a huge amount of attention to those voices because they'll just get you down.
A lot of it get in my
support.
Yeah.
No, but the political affiliation thing was interesting. Actually, I saw on your timeline earlier you were like, I'm not political. I'm like apolitical. I believe in dignity or something. I forget the exact quote. And then 3 hours later, you posted, I think I'm gonna be a liberal now or something, right? Like, I'm just wondering what happened in that 3 hours. Like, well,
Everyone wants to be a liberal, be a big left, and to eventually be a leftist. You know, I'm maybe I'm shifting in the right direction. I don't know. You know, I will say, you know, wasn't that conservative before I went to jail, but I think every ounce of conservatism has been imprisoned out of my body.
no, reasonable,
Yeah.
understandable, for sure.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think there's actually a point to that though. That the experience that I think a lot of marginalised people, trans people included, the treatment they get from conservatives naturally draws them
Yeah.
away from that way of thinking. Even if they might have been naturally more economically on board with that or whatever, it drives them away and radicalises them in a way that, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with, of course, but I think you'd imagine conservatives would think long term, demographically, a lot of their older voters will start to die off. That's just the nature of life. That driving a wedge between themselves and younger generations like that probably isn't a long term winning strategy.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I do have, even though I guess I'm a liberal now. I'm becoming a liberal now. You know, I think I have a, like, I think people have genetic predispositions towards political ideologies, and I think I am sort of predisposed just by my personality to be a conservative, just because, like, sort of Burkean conservatism, because I don't like change. I like the things I like tradition. I'm kind of a normie, I guess, is my point. I'm my ideal day would, if I had to go back in time, it would probably be to like the 12th century, to be like some like peasant being led through like the blindness by like some priest or something. Like I want to be an illiterate peasant. That'd be fun. Yeah.
You could be the first trans tradwife e-girl.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe I could.
There's
I
got to
think
be
that's
a
really-
market for that, you would think, surely. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting though, and I think for all the people who are like possibly being negative about you from like leftist camps and from the trans community and stuff, like the point is you're, as far as we know, right, you're like the first person to get arrested for one of these bills, and
Yeah.
you did it deliberately, you did it defiantly, and all these people out
Right.
there who are railing against these laws and stuff, you're not one of the radical leftist trans activists, right? Like you're a regular person who just got fucking fed up, right?
Yeah,
And
that's exactly.
so for those people, like, I don't know, you did what they didn't fucking do, and you did it before them, and you may now face a pretty harsh penalty for it. And I think that we should be rallying behind you and supporting you in that, because these laws need to be challenged in every way possible.
I hope it's thrown out constitutionally, because I think it's deeply unconstitutional and deeply un-American.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the America when we would like smoke apple pie and eat cigarettes. That's my America.
Okay, you've got solid memes,
For real.
100%. Yeah. So, other than obviously some of that backlash, have the community been supportive? Have you been surprised by that, or how is that?
I tons of people, and I will say my DMs have been filled, and I'm sorry if you're in my DMs and I haven't gotten back to you. I'm trying to get back to everyone. There's so many people DMing me, reaching out with love and support, and I really appreciate that. I really do need the help of the trans community to fight for me, because like I am just constantly being attacked by TERFs, and like they're just saying really disgusting things about my body, and they're just kind of, it's really, when someone's making some offhand comment on the internet one time, it's one thing, but when people are like celebrating you getting in prison and saying that you should be in prison for life and you should be executed, it's like this is really scary.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I've suffered through a couple of different hate campaigns from various people. Are you looking through all of your DMs and messages yourself?
Yeah.
Um, it might be a good idea to have a friend or somebody you can trust, like go through and like filter out the like disgusting hate mail from the stuff that you might actually like to read. Just in order to protect your mental. I'm not trying to fucking talk down to you or tell you what you should do or whatever, but I found that helpful for me in the past. And I think you're gonna need to be as mentally strong as possible for the coming whatevers, right? So that's just a
Yeah.
suggestion, I guess.
I
Yeah.
about that. I've thought about that
Yeah.
a little bit of well, I've also had friends like recommend tweet ideas for me because I guess I'm a Twitter influencer now, or something. Because well, I'm not I have like a couple thousand followers, which is weird to me. My aunt just texted me, "Hey, I saw you on the news." I'm like, "Oh, hi, hello." People
Yeah.
keep
Well,
that weird because I'm like a mini celebrity from this, I guess, and that's not what I thought was gonna happen. Or I mean, I'm not ungrateful, I guess, you know, that I have a voice now. It's rare that people get the platform that I do, but it's just, it's like, huh, this is new, you
yeah,
know. And
yeah. Sorry,
sorry,
carry on. I was just agreeing with you.
yeah, and yeah, it's also weird. It all feels so weird and surreal. Um, I actually was thinking of. By the way, I'm gonna have to go in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna be late to something, but I'm totally cool with that. Um, I was actually just thinking the other day about like texting people as a joke because this is gonna seem really bad, but it's a joke of texting people like I'm gonna be on the news today without like filling them into what I mean.
I don't know. I think I think you might worry a couple of people with that,
No, but
possibly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like it was weird. It's so weird because like I was like stressed out about this when all the news started first breaking, and I was like talking to like a guy who was like this cool guy who was like adding fruit to the fruit stand in the grocery store. And I was like, yeah, I'm like stressed out because I'm in the news. And he's like, oh yeah, what are you? And I'm like, oh, I was the trans girl who was arrested. He's like, oh, I heard about that. When I tell people about this in person, people like, I heard about that, and it's like they heard about me. Like that's so weird to me, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't start a meme coin and do a rug pull. That's not the way to go with it.
Well, I've been called like Haley Welsh before because I am just tweeting and like they people are like you're taking advantage. But I I I'm gonna go to jail. At least I like to get something out of this, you know?
Yeah, for
True.
real.
Yeah, that's yeah. You know what? Absolutely. Yeah. And
Well, at
plus,
least,
the
you got a platform and a voice, which is like, you've managed to wrestle some kind of platform from a media that really doesn't like to platform trans voices that much.
yeah,
So, like, that's at
absolutely.
least one thing. Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
and done it in the most sort of brave way as well. It's not like this is just sort of random luck. You did an amazing thing, which shouldn't need to be done, but that's unfortunately the way that amazing things are done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If this doesn't and it like if this ever ceases to be an issue, I'd probably get out of politics. I guess I'm in politics now, but I don't know. I don't really think of myself as a deeply political person. I just think this is so deeply wrong in a way that like there are very few other things going on in politics that are just this deeply wrong. You know, I feel like this is sort of the Jim Crow for trans people, that they're arresting people and imprisoning trans people. Like that's crazy, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, yeah, it shouldn't be political. You're just being a human. It shouldn't be political, but it's being made political,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And you've done, I think, a really noble thing. And I'm genuinely inspired by it. I think it's a wonderful thing. I just hope it doesn't lead to negative repercussions for you.
Yeah.
They might make an example out of me. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
possibly,
It's
or
scary.
they should realise that they don't want to make a martyr out of you either. But the
Yeah.
authorities,
Yeah.
what's the old thing
I
about
mean, I already
the?
have,
You, go on, sorry.
a little bit. I think they already kind of have a little bit, you know, with the jail time that I've already had.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
They've look, as described. They've given you a voice that they needn't have done. You know, like they could have. No one would necessarily have heard of you if they hadn't done this. And again, not for something particularly crazy. You went and washed your hands. It's so bizarre that this is the hill they've decided to die on.
Yeah, I'm gonna make them look real bad. I think it makes them look bad to normies. And we've been fighting the wrong battles, the trans community. Like the sports isn't a winning battle. We might be right on that, you know, but it affects 10 people and it's just not winning battle for us. We need to be strategic in the battles that we choose, and this is a good battle to choose. This is a hill to die on because we won't die on this hill. We'll win.
Mm. Because
Yeah,
it's
You know, we
something that affects a lot more trans Americans, is what you're saying, yeah?
wait, can you say that again? Sorry.
Because it's something that affects a lot more trans Americans, is what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, and it's also just way more palatable. Like this is a lot of public opinion for on an issue is defined by wedge issues, and if we make this a wedge issue, which it is, we can just we can change the public opinion on trans rights by just like showing people of yeah, they're just arresting trans people. Like that's Trump's America, you
Yeah.
know. And I think there's a lot of people when I tell who think this is ugly, when I tell people in my life what's going on, they didn't even know this law is a thing. And they're like, what
Mm.
the, you know,
Yeah.
are shocked and horrified. Most people in politics don't know this law is a thing. And like, I try not to tell too many people about it in my personal life because I feel weird when I tell them what happened to me because it's like I get a lot of pity and I don't like pity, you know, but it is kind of pitiable and then it's like, oh, this is what happens. This is the country we live in. Like I don't even think most Florida voters think about this kind of stuff. But this is a real political reality.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, well, yeah. I mean, I think you've got to go now. Um,
Yeah, I do have
but
to go
Mm.
now.
yeah, but I mean, yeah. I mean, thank you for doing what you've done, and stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a good day. God bless.
I,
Thank you very much. Bye
I
bye.
like her.
Yeah, no, she
I like
was
her.
she was nice. Yeah. Wow. Well,
Um,
there you go. That was Marcy Rheintgen.